Good evening and welcome to SIS. SIS is an acronym for Sisters Inspiring Sisters. I'm Ejiro and I'll be your host. And here in the studio with me is none other than my co-host, Miss Nakesha Woods. This lovely young lady is the founder of SIS, which is a nonprofit organization located right here in Detroit. She is an alumni of the Detroit School of Arts and the result of the DPS school system. She is a strong example of a young, black, gifted businesswoman, Nakesha Woods. We're here with Lakina Crespo, an attorney, Deidre Young, a professor and a dentist, and Lisa Lauren Smith, an actress. It's nice to have you here today.
Hello.
Yay. Yay. And so one question I have for you is, what did you want to be when you were a little?
A doctor.
Lisa, you wanted to be a doctor?
I wanted to be a doctor. Then I realized that I couldn't take people's pain. I couldn't take seeing blood. I literally felt it. And I was kind of going against my truth anyway, because while I was saying I wanted to be a doctor, even at like 4 and 5, I was singing and dancing for people and, mimicking stuff I had seen on TV.
Okay.
So that did not happen.
Okay. How about you?
I wanted to be a math teacher.
Oh, wow.
And I always loved how math to me was logical and it just made sense. I didn't have to think about it. 1 + 1 was always going to be 2. So I like to be able to rely on logical thinking and being able to apply critical thinking to that as well.
Awesome. And Lakina?
And I guess, ironic for me, I wanted to be a lawyer all my life.
Wow.
I know. I just enjoyed the fact of taking up for people that could not stand for themselves. I've always been very outspoken, so it was just quite natural
To be
that
a
I
lawyer.
become an attorney.
Okay. And you know what? I think that's such a good question, because a lot of times young women think that, okay, well, I want to be this and I want to be that. And if the path changes a little bit, then they get a little bit discouraged or, off kilter. But you guys managed to, find what you were meant to do along the way. So I really think that's important and powerful. Okay, so like I stated, all of you are alumni of DSA, Detroit Public Schools. So tell me about your experience with the Detroit Public School System.
I guess I'll go first on that. Contrary to belief, I really enjoyed my time in Detroit Public Schools. I loved my elementary school. I can even remember my favorite teacher's name. I felt like I learned a lot in DPS schools. I also enjoyed my middle school, and of course I loved my high school. It was a new high school when we first came on board, but we made the best of it. And I can honestly say that I don't believe that my academics were any different, because I was able to compete on a national level with other students from all over the world when I went to school in Florida, and I was able to obtain full ride scholarships to several
Wow, that's amazing.
colleges and universities, including Michigan State, and a lot of the top universities.
So you had your pick.
I did.
That's
I had my
amazing.
pick, and I decided to go and set my sights in the sun.
Okay. That's awesome. So you felt like you were adequately prepared. That's awesome to hear. How about you, Deidre?
Oh, I think that, as I know for a fact, Detroit Public Schools was instrumental in my development. Overall, they started from Golightly on the east side, and then I ended up at DSA, Detroit High School for the Fine and Performing Arts was the name then. Throughout that, each teacher just it was like a building block on the next level to make sure that I understood the information, going from understanding ABCs to being able to make words to paragraphs to essays and passing the SAT. I think that they all worked collectively. They might not have known each other's names from elementary school to high school, but they definitely worked as a team. And I'm definitely a proud product of Detroit and Detroit Public Schools.
Amazing. Now, Lisa, you have a different perspective because you are involved in the arts and you went to an performing arts high school. So how do you think DSA prepared you to get involved with the arts?
Well, my career, and it literally is a career when you're getting paid and not getting paid for it, started back when I was in, kindergarten. I actually started off at a private school, Cathedral, over on Warren and Woodward Avenue, and then I left there and went to Fairbanks Elementary, which is no longer in operation, but there was an auditorium There were arts programs always from like the early 80s up until now. I'm sorry, my bracelet is making all this noise. I'm dazzling. I'm used to performing, dazzling. Anyway, there was a stage in Fairbanks Elementary, and then I left Fairbanks and went over to Burton International. There was a stage there. I began playing violin. I began singing. I began acting, and then I graduated there and came here, and it just formed me even more into a professional, because here, unlike normal high schools, we had to stay after. There was studio, there was performances. I mean, we would come, we just were talking about this in the lobby. We would come and the sun was down, we would leave and the sun was back down.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite teacher, who I literally just ran into at the Jazz Festival, was Mr. Edward Quick. I adore him. Because he made sure that we were on a level where we were playing with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra. I was in orchestra, I was in band, I was in jazz band, I was in symphonic orchestra, and, you know, we did marching band. So it prepared me to perform. I left this school and I already knew what rehearsal was going to be like in a professional setting. I left here and I knew how to get on a stage. I knew how to read a score. I knew how to join a team. Amazing, which is why it hurt me when some of the arts were taken out of so many of the schools, because it goes back so far, you know, as a whole, Detroit Public Schools.
And I was going to say, Lisa made a valid point, because she's right. In elementary school, I was in chorus. I was given a clarinet to play. And middle school, I joined African dance. You know, we put on performances, and that's how I was able to get into DSA. And it was because of those building blocks and those different arts that they gave to us and provided to us. So to take it away is, you don't know whose dream you're taking away when you take away those arts, because some people don't know what they're really good at until they explore it. And that's what I appreciated about DSA as well, is that we had exploratory arts. And we were just talking, I said some people found their second dream, or probably their first dream, through exploratory arts. So that, it's very, very, very impactful.
Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, am I in theater today? No, but because of Marcia Sakwa, I was able, and I am able to go in front of a classroom or go in front of a group in Barcelona, Spain just last month and speak and not be nervous. So it goes across, the arts goes across all levels. It builds confidence in our students. And we must, our students, when they go out and they're ambassadors of Detroit Public Schools, arts helps to give a person opportunity to be well-rounded. And not just singular in terms of, I'm just good in math, I'm just good in science. No, I'm good in math, science, and speaking. As a result, I'm a professor in science and dentistry.
Very good. You know, and I can attest to that as well. I'm sorry, Lisa.
No, go ahead.
I can attest to that as well, working with young ladies in different schools, especially ones that don't have arts in it. We like to introduce a component where they are presenting. So they're always presenting information, getting used to speaking in front of a group and things like that. Performance arts is very important part of my life. I do a lot of projects that's dealing with performing arts right now. I think that when a young person is able to feel good about something, it automatically impacts their self-esteem. So if, you know, they may be good at dance and they may not really know exactly how to do that in a positive way or in a trained way, you know, finding a teacher who can see that talent and that gift in them, it really just kind of just helps bring them out as a person. So I do appreciate that. Did you want to add something?
Yes, confidence coincides with a person's truth. For example, when I go into audition, and I've auditioned up against some pretty heavy hitters in Hollywood, but my confidence sometimes got me over the bar when I had no business on that set. I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the credits, but I had the confidence, and that's what I try to instill in young people that are coming up after us that are in the arts. Confidence is something that people can see and say, you know what, she may not have the skill complete, but she has the confidence, or he has the confidence, so we can work with that. Always be humble, because that way you're teachable. And people like that will cast you or hire you, or you will get hired or cast before someone that goes in with the attitude of, well, you know, I've been doing this for about, 10 years, and, my auntie is related to such and such. That means nothing. Your confidence is everything. I can't stress that enough.
That is so true. So what was the most fulfilling part of each of your careers?
Well, I'll be honest with you. The most fulfilling part of my career currently, service director of multicultural affairs at University of Detroit Mercy. The school is located in the city, and it enables me to do outreach with Detroit Public Schools. So every Wednesday, I'm in a Detroit Public School introducing these students, whether it's Spain Middle School, Cass King, Renaissance, DSA, you name it, I'm there, to health professions and trying to show them why we need to be of service in underserved communities, such as the city that their school is located. Because we need to have more people who understand cultural competent care. Absolutely. And also understand why it is important to give to the underserved. Because if we don't build up our city centers and we don't provide health and health care, then we're really going to be at a loss. I mean, what generation will we have if they're Absolutely. Not healthy enough to live? So what I like about my job is I can give back to a public school system that gave to me.
Well said. Okay, Lakina.
What I think is most fulfilling about my career and what I do is that I am able to give troubled youth a second chance. When they come into court and they may have done some miscellaneous things that could cause them the rest of their life, I'm able to see that and know what neighborhood I came from and know the different people that I was friends with and know that everyone deserves a second chance in life. So I am the prosecutor when I'm in the court, but I also see myself as a mentor as well in the court. I try to help young people, and then I also branch out with Boys and Girls Clubs, and I get a chance to talk to them and explain to them how the simple things can impact the rest of their life, how it can impact their ability to go to college, to receive financial aid, just with a simple misdemeanor conviction. So I think that's one of the most fulfilling things about being an attorney.
Okay, Lisa, what do you feel that's most fulfilling about becoming an actress and a performer overall?
The fact that I can literally use my journey as an example to those that don't believe that you can actually have a career doing this. You know, you're told at a young age that you need a degree and you need a 9-to-5 so that you can retire and have benefits, get married, have some kids, and then transition. But when you begin talking about, I want to sing, I want to dance, I want to play instruments, I want to travel, there 9 times out of 10, somebody's going to say, oh, that's a hobby. You need to go get something secure. Well, my life is a prime example that you can file your taxes as a professional actor. You can join professional unions like SAG and AFTRA and Actors Equity for television, film, and radio. You can get benefits. You can even file for unemployment when you get fired.
Well, right now.
You know, it's a real career.
Absolutely.
It is a job. Literally, taxes are taken out of my check stub. I can't tell you how many taxes have been taken out that I had a problem with, okay? Because they think all of us are millionaires. But it's an actual profession, and if you treat it like a real profession, it will respond back to you like a real profession. And I've been able to be that example for people and their parents that did not believe that they could actually make it, so to speak. You just need good mentorship. You need that confidence. And when I'm teaching, I teach part-time over at Duke Ellington for their outreach program for acting. I have so many talented people that come into my classroom naturally, did not have one acting class, but they just have that gift, that ability. But I've heard them say so many times, you know, well, my mom and dad said that this is not a real career. And when I show them my headshot, my website, my demo reel, and my car, they're like, oh, well, how can we do that? And then, you know, I'm able to, you know, show them you need an agent, you need a manager, and here's how you do it. So just being an example that it can actually work has been very fulfilling for me.
So what I'm hearing as a repeated theme is that you all are very passionate about giving back, paying it forward. And that's what's fulfilling. At the end of the day, it's nice to make a nice salary. It's nice to have good benefits. It's nice to get unemployment if you need to. But I mean, to be able to give and pour into the generation to come in some capacity, or pour into the community that you come from to some capacity, that's what makes it rewarding. And I share the same thing and share
Well,
same
you have
passion
to
as a mentor.
remember that if we don't, how would they know?
Amen.
You know, someone did it for us.
That's true.
Right.
And that's how we were able to follow a path.
Right.
So if you don't reach back and you don't leave some type of stream,
Right.
how would they be able to get there?
Right.
So knowing literally is half the battle. And just coming from a family that no one had graduated college, you know, I didn't know, you know, and so I had so many people, you know, and a lot of the stuff I did find on my own, but I had people that reached back and said, no, this is how you do it.
Wow.
And so for me not to reach back
Right.
would be a disservice. I have children. It would be a disservice to my own children.
Wow. That's
So I know it's a disservice to some other single parent family out there. So, I mean, if you don't reach back, then you're just a success filled with nothing.
Exactly. I like that. Success.
Yeah,
Yes.
empty success.
Empty
That's
success.
excellent, Idris,
You
yeah.
coined a new phrase
I'm
today.
going to have
I
to
like
patent
that.
it. And,
And can I add something to what she said?
Absolutely.
And even on the level that these students are on now, they may still be in school, not even graduated yet, to hit the real world and practice their crafts professionally. You can start sharing your information now because you're planting seeds.
That's right.
And I believe in seed time harvest. Whatever you sow, it will come back to you. So if you get a contact or a connection and you feel like maybe some of your friends can benefit from it, trust and believe. That's how so many doors have been opened for me. It's because I remember, wow, I got that connection and I shared it and God opened the door for me. So you have to just share even on the level that you're at now. You
Right.
know, we can pass it down
Right.
for generations to come, but on the level you're on now, don't be afraid to share.
Right.
that's right.
That's how you will get your blessing.
Because we're
Right.
still growing.
That's right. We are. Life is a growth process.
Yes.
And you have to be open-minded. I learn every day. I learn from students.
That's right.
I learn from my superiors. I learn from my mom and dad still. And all of those are blessings. And it could be constructive criticisms at times, but how can I develop?
Right.
I'm not where I want to be.
Right.
And even when I get there, it's going to be a new place for me to go.
Exactly. Always setting
And we have to set goals because if we're not goal setters, what are we?
goals. Exactly. Wow, that's amazing. So you guys, we know exactly, you know, we heard your bio earlier. We know exactly who you are and what you do now. But what obstacles have you had to overcome to get where you are today? I know I like to see the nice, pretty, shined up versions of you, but I want to know about some of the
This
obstacles.
is shined up.
I'm assuming you want us to tell the truth
Because you could be helping somebody who is in that particular space
Well,
right now.
Right.
Who wants to start? I guess I can.
Oh, yes, attorney.
Outspoken. I come from a single parent home. I'm a little bit different. I've always been a go-getter. I always wanted to get straight A's. I prided myself on wanting to be the best in everything that I did. And that's who I am, and that's what I was. However, a lot of things came easy to me in the learning process. And I'm not bragging, it's just, it did, because I was always thirsty for it. I love science, I love math, I love all of that. However, I know that when I got to law school, I may have to work a little bit harder. So I'll just tell you this. When I was in law school, I was pregnant, and my daughter was due 2 weeks before finals. And if you know anything about law school, which y'all probably don't, if you don't pass, you probably know, if you don't pass that first year, you're kicked out.
Yes.
Okay, if you don't have a certain GPA the first year, you're automatically kicked out. And with law school, medical school, and different things, someone must fail. It's just how it works. It's not how high school is. Everybody can get an A. No, the bottom, a certain percentage must fail. And so I had my daughter 2 weeks before finals. I was out of school for 2 weeks. I came back like an idiot. I took the exam. I did not pass that one. And at the end of the year, I did not have the grades to move on. So I was kicked out of school, and I had to appeal. I missed it by 0.02. Okay? And so I had to write an appeal letter to get back in. But I knew that it was my destiny to be a lawyer. I just knew it. I knew it. And I got back in, and, you know, I prayed and said, okay, if you get me back in, I know I can finish and pass this bar. And I got back in. And that could have been discouraging. I could have let it go. but I was too old to let it go. Because I wasn't a traditional law school student. I didn't go directly after college. I did other things. But I never forgot my path, and I never forgot what my goal was and what my dream was. And so that was real challenging for me. But when I got back in, you know, I did the thing.
You know what? That's amazing to hear that.
And graduated and passed the bar on the first go around.
Amazing.
Amen.
She didn't quit.
That's what I was just gonna say. That's amazing to hear because there's so many people who they have a goal and they have a dream, but if it doesn't look exactly like they thought it would, then they think that it wasn't meant to be, and so they quit and they turn away from it. So there's someone who's listening to this broadcast who may be in that space right now.
Don't give up.
Maybe wanting to quit, who may not have gotten the results that they thought they should have gotten or didn't pass the first time.
That's
and the
right.
thing is, you got to keep trying and keep going.
Keep trying. I wasn't raised with a silver spoon in my mouth. You know, sometimes we look at people that have these careers and you say, they must have had a great upbringing. They must have, you know, if you know where I come from, if you know my siblings and you know the different things, you know, where my mother worked 2 jobs. She was never home. So I had to be self-motivated to succeed. She couldn't make my dance performances, but I didn't let it stop me because she had to do what she had to do to take care of us. And so I'm not that person that come from all good, the big house. I come right from the neighborhoods. But I knew what I wanted to be. And that's all it takes. If you know what you want to be, there is nothing or nobody that can ever stop you. Literally, there isn't. Your parents control your life up until you graduate high school. You control your destiny. You control the outcome of you. And it all starts by picking and choosing. You know, you have to pick and choose. And I had a baby in college, but that didn't mean anything because I knew what my goal was. You're going to be set off your track a lot of times. I don't think anyone in here has done it perfectly. You're going to be set off your track a lot of times. Don't give up. Just don't give up. Whether it's in high school it's going on, whether it's in middle school or even elementary school. Don't give up because God created you. And he created you to be powerful and to be the best. So you have it in you automatically. And so I just say, don't ever give up.
Never.
You can't. Before I get to your obstacle thing, I wanted to kind of veggie back on what Lakina just discussed. My parents divorced, and I chose to live with my father. And my father worked the afternoon shift. Now, this is important because by the time I got out of school, DSA, 5 p.m. at night, I had to get home, do my homework, feed myself, go to sleep, and there was not one person there to check to make sure I made it home, to check to make sure my homework was done, that I was fed. There was food in the refrigerator, but I had to prepare it myself. So what did I learn from 14 to 17? Well, I learned to motivate myself, to push myself. My dad did check my grades. Yes. Absolutely. But he was not there. So people say, well, no one was there to help me and no one was there to push me and blah, blah, blah. That's all I hear is cry me a river. I was self-motivated. If I can do it, let me tell you something. My prom day, there was no one there to zip up my dress, to take my picture. I had to get in a car, drive myself. There was no family there. And that, you know, I look back on that and I go, wow, I went and, you know, my boyfriend picked me up and we went to his family and everyone took pictures there, but I didn't have anyone there. No one to zip me up and say, you look good today, Deirdre. But I kept it moving. And you have to make sure you can get an excuse to fall down and look up to the sky. But as long as you're still looking up to the sky, you can get right back up. Because if you don't get up, there are other people that are right behind you that will. So your story is not going to be over until you say it's over. And there's many reasons that I can look back on my life and say, wow, how did I make it through an obstacle? My brother was murdered 2 days before my ACT exam. 2 days. And it was all on Channel 2, Channel 4, Channel 7. And I remember going to DSA because that was my family. And they were like, Deirdre, we saw your brother on the news and blah, blah, blah. And DSA, to this day, I love Dr. Davis Cotton because she said, come on in my office. You got this huge exam in a couple of days. Are you ready to take this test? And I said, you know what? My brother would have wanted me to take this test. My brother would have wanted me to go to college and make something of myself so I can give back and take away, hopefully, from the negative statistics in Detroit.
That's right.
So that's what I did. I remembered what my brother would have wanted for me, and that continues to motivate me to this day. So our biggest obstacle for me would be at 16 years old. Took that ACT, got such a, I guess, great grade or whatever you call it now, good score, that I ended up getting a full scholarship to Howard University. Yes, I did leave Detroit, went to Washington, D.C., but I came right on back home. Because at the end of the day, I want to be of service to my community, period.
Amazing.
Say it, girl.
Amazing. Now, Lisa, I know you have some things that you may have overcome coming from Detroit and getting involved in the type of field that you are. You named some earlier about people not thinking that it's a real, career. So tell me about some other obstacles you have faced.
The rejection. There's constant rejection in my field of work. You are put before people to judge you. We see it every day on TV. American Idol, X Factor, The Voice, all those shows where someone is going to tell you whether or not you're good enough to have a career. I've always been against that, but that's part of my line of work, which is why I always tell people, whether they be child or adult, you need a thick skin. How do you get a thick skin in an industry like this? You have to know yourself first before you try to show anybody else who you are. You got to know yourself. And like Deidre, there were times where I've been by myself. I didn't have anybody to encourage me. I didn't have anybody to say, go get them, girl. You know those lines. Here, let me practice with you. I had to play both parts in my room in the dark. You know, I moved to Los Angeles for a couple of years. Another challenge was being in different markets where people don't respect you as an artist because you come from Detroit and not L.A. and New York. I've been in New York, I've been in Atlanta, I've been in Chicago, where people look at me and say, where are you from? I'm from Detroit. Thank you. And that's it. And, you know, it's heartbreaking because you're putting your fate in someone else's hands, so you think. That's not what you're doing. You're putting your fate in God's hands. I wish I could say it any other way, but I can't. And when you start moving in that trust, and I can't talk about confidence enough, it literally leads you down the path that you're supposed to be going down. That's why I say you have to know who you are first. You can't let people define you in the business of entertainment. You have to know who you are. You have to be who you are, not be afraid to be who you are, because who that person is going to attract the opportunities that were meant for you to have. You know, if you're trying to be somebody else as a singer or an actor, or you're trying to mock this person or that person, guess what? You're going to attract what they have, and then when you get in that position, you're not going to know how to survive because you're not anointed for it. They were. So for me, and I'm just now at that point where I'm finally recognizing who I am as a singer, who I am as an actor, who I am as a host, or whatever I'm cast at. And you know what it's done? It's caused me to be very selective about the parts that I go out for. I'm not going to, oh God, I gotta make it tomorrow. I gotta be famous in a week. So I would go to everything that was presented to me, instead of saying, you know what, that's not best for me because I know who I am. I don't feel comfortable saying those lines. I wouldn't be able to go to sleep at night. So I'm not going to compromise my salvation to do that part. That's when another part will show up that is for me. Why? Because the universe saw I was willing to walk in my truth. Let somebody else do that. That's for them, not for you. So the challenge for me, or the obstacles, just in a nutshell, has been throughout a 13-year journey, because I came out of DSA with these ladies and I immediately just started performing. I became a radio personality for about 4 or 5 years of Radio 1 and Clear Channel, and that got me an agent. Then I started doing voiceovers and commercials and this, that, and that. So it was pretty much like, 3 or 4 years out of high school. Ever since then, I have been either chasing fame, trying to be somebody I'm not, or live up to what everyone, be it family or friends, expected me to be. Instead of connecting with the source, me and God, to define what my truth is, who I'm supposed to be, and allowing myself to walk in that path and that journey. And it took me a while, but I'm grateful to say that I actually know now where I fit best. And I would suggest that for anyone in any career.
You're listening to SIS, our female mentoring show on Detroit Public Schools Radio 90.9 WRCJ. Up next, stay tuned to our male mentoring program, Momentum, beginning at 7:45, featuring DSA Male Ensemble Vision. You're listening again to WRCJ, Detroit Public Schools Radio 90.9. And now back to our female mentoring show, SIS.
So you said earlier about how people said, oh, she's from Detroit, so they didn't really, think that you were up to par about that. So what is the biggest misconception that people have about Black women from Detroit in all of your respective fields?
Can I go first on that one?
Yeah.
I can't speak for these ladies' profession. I can surely speak for mine. And I'm going to be very blunt here. I'm a brown-skinned Black woman. I'm not light-skinned. In Hollywood, there's still very much a bar when it comes down to complexion. I hate saying it, but it's the truth. And so for me and other women who are like me or my same type, as they would say in a casting office or demographic, we have Viola Davis to look up to. We have Octavia Spencer to look up to for the actors. Gabrielle Union. And it's like a club of all of us, no matter if we're in New York, Detroit, Chicago, LA, we have that common denominator amongst us where we're like, we're all sisters, light, dark, brown, it doesn't matter. But that's not how they see us casting. So I'm confronted and have been confronted with going into a casting office out west and immediately being thrown a script where I have to portray a certain stereotype, but then my sister, who's of a different complexion, they'll give her a completely different script where she's not so much the, hey y'all, how y'all doing? I'm up in here today. Yeah, my name is Lisa. They give her the, hi, my name is Lisa. How are you? And they expect us to roll with that and not be offended by it, like, plainly speaking. And so it's now where Black women in Hollywood, especially if you look on the magazine covers, are starting to notice. We're coming together more. We are executive producing more. We're producing, we're directing. I just saw Taraji P. Henson and Idris Elba in a film together where I waited for the credits deliberately to see just what part they played. Other than actors, they were executive producers.
Yeah.
So for Black women in Hollywood, in theater and stage, because, it's a known thing on Broadway amongst Black actors and actresses, we got to start producing our own plays because you got your Black play and then you got your general play. And there might be one part for a Black woman, but for the most part, we're put in our category, so to speak. So I would say and encourage and ask, please, there are directors and producers in this building right now that don't even know that that's what they're being called to do. Please do that. If you have a vision for film, if you have a vision for producing or directing or being an executive producer, we need more of that because the respect level for us when we go to LA or New York or Chicago will be different. It will be higher. I won't just come in and they'll throw me a stereotypical script that's insulting to who I am, my ethnicity and the ancestry before me, but instead I'll be considered like others. Well, maybe she can produce and act. Maybe she can host as well as sing instead of just sticking me in that one slot because of who I am and what I look like.
I felt like I was in the black box.
Oh, Black Box ODSA. Yeah, I thought she was on stage right there. This was beautiful. For me, well, I'm in a male-driven profession. 80% of dentists are white males. So I remember going to dental school at University of Michigan, Ann Arbor. It was only 10 African Americans in my entire class. And 3 of them were male, and then the other, 7 were African American females. And that struck a chord with me because I came from a historically black college at Howard. There they cultivated us, and yeah, we all knew we were gonna go out to corporate America or the world, but they make sure that we had it was germane for us to understand that we had value. So when we went off to the next level, we could compete. So I was prepared to compete, but it still was a culture shock, and I think that still resonates to this day. Though I work in the city, there are still opportunities when I go across the state or across the nation even to speak. I am the only woman in the room. I am the only person of color in the room. I am the only person under 40 in the room.
Yes.
But yet I am the subject matter expert in what I'm talking about. So confidence, going right back to what Lisa talked about earlier. I can't look at, I'm from Detroit. Oh, she's from Detroit. And, oh, well, I wonder if she could even put 2 words together. I mean, literally. And I go, really? I can put more than 2 words together. But I'm only going to speak minimally just so you can be in shock when I really need to say what I need to say. So I was taught, listen so you can speak. So I listen to what they're saying. And then I try to be towards the middle or the end of the conversation and sum up all of their points and then get my point across. I don't know if that's a little bit of attorney in me. I always respected that craft. But it is important to not see Detroit as a barrier to achievement, but the reason why I will achieve.
Oh, that's good.
Because of what they gave me, what Detroit continues to give me, and what they foster, the relationships that I fostered through this, the networking that I was able to develop. When I come back into the city, I walk up to the store. How you doing, Dr. Young? How you doing, Deirdre? Hey, Dee Dee, if I'm from the block. I mean, just depends, and be able to put on all those different hats. I'm a doctor. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm an educator. I'm a mentor. I'm a mentee. I'm here today. I'm an achiever.
That's right.
All right.
Okay. Now, Lakina, I know that it must be some things going on concerning being an African American female in your craft. So please tell us about that.
Nakesha, you have to remember that blacks weren't allowed to go to law school back in the day. Okay. Then they allowed black males.
Yes, black males first.
Okay, into law schools because the black females were not supposed to be lawyers. We're supposed to be, I guess, homemakers or child bearers. That was our job, secretaries or something that was not of status. So I've never had to deal with racism really growing up. I don't know if maybe I was oblivious to it, but I never had to do it. And I also went to an HBCU. And so when I went to law school, it was something different, okay? My classroom, I believe it was myself and another friend of mine. We were the only 2 people of color in the classroom. In my study groups, I was the only person of color in the study group. And it's funny because they'll tell you that you're the quota.
Your classmates?
That's
Oh,
why
your classmates.
That's why you're here, is that you're the quota or that you're on some type of special program.
Special privilege.
Okay, that you're some type of special privilege, and that's why you're here. It has nothing to do with your abilities, and they think that you're going to be the one that never passed the bar or never passed the dental test or anything like that. You're just here so they can have their quota, so that the school doesn't look like it's an all Caucasian school.
Yes.
And so to overcome those barriers, it was so different from me. One instance, and we are a white male driven field. I will say that, okay? And that with me, given my look, I look young for my age, so it's hard for them to take me serious. However, I can win trials.
Okay.
I can sweep the floor with some older white male attorneys, okay? Because I'm so good at what I do, and because I know that they think something about me, I work extra hard to be the very best, to be better than everyone in the room. I want to know more than everyone in the room. This one thing happened to me, and it blew my mind. I was with my study group. We were out after class, and the guy, he leaned over and said, I guess me and you will be retaking property. I'm outspoken, and I don't let things like that get past me. And I said, well, what make you think I'm felon? And he said, oh, I did just assume. I said, well, did you assume because I was black that I was felon the class? And he was stuck. He was stuck. And I said, I generally don't say this, but I'm in the top 1/3 of this class. Okay? I said, don't assume anything about me just because my color. And I had never experienced racism before. But in law school, it's unbelievable. But I never let it stop me.
You can't let it motivate.
It did. It did. It motivated me. It made me want, you understand, I was 8 months pregnant. It made me want to stay up an extra 6 hours. So that when I was called on, my argument was so good. My argument was so good. One time I had the whole class thinking I was right. And it was the instructor. The instructor said, how many of y'all agree with Miss Pruitt? And everybody raised their hand. And he said, well, Miss Pruitt is absolutely, positively wrong. But you know what? It's what I did. And you know, and my fellow African-American colleagues, we all succeeded. And we made sure we succeeded because we knew that everyone else was against us. You got to remember, these tests aren't made for us. They're not made for us to succeed. They're made to show the world that we cannot. So anytime we break a barrier into anything, it's a plus for us. It's a plus for our ancestors. It's a plus for everyone that paved the way for us. And I stand proud on their shoulders. I do.
We have to carry the torch.
We do.
You know, it's not even just about us. It's about those who were before us. We have to carry that torch.
So I'm so glad you guys are talking about carrying the torch. And we all know that I feel like there's some kind of thing that's against young black women, like in the media, socially. So we recently did a show on how black women are perceived in the media. So I have a question. Do you see an increase in young women seeking to marry or have children by wealthy men? So I don't know that sometimes they'll say, oh, catch a baller, or, you know, find an athlete, or, you know, find a man that could pay all their bills or have a baby with them. And then they're not necessarily looking to traditional, or in your case, untraditional fields for professions, but they're looking to men for fame and fortune. How do you guys feel about that?
Can I chime in on that a little bit?
Yeah, you chime in.
I think your image is everything. I think it has to be all about what your goals are.
Right.
And I'm not going to stop anyone's goals in life. However, when it becomes unhealthy or when it becomes problematic, you need to stand back and take a look at that. Because, hey, I wouldn't mind having me a $500 million NFL player. But, you know, I want to love him. I want him to love and respect me, one.
Exactly.
And I think that's the issue. Are those women being respected?
Is there a price? Are they selling themselves for a price?
And I think that's the bigger question. I don't know what goes on in their household. I don't. So I can't sit here and speak on it or judge on it. Some of these women, I believe, truly love these guys. You know, I think they're caught up in bad situations. And I think that another problem with it is that when you have family behind you encouraging this activity because they're thinking of the betterment of themselves, I think that's why a lot of these young girls get into this situation. Because if you talk to some of them, I believe they have goals and dreams. But when their mom or somebody found out, oh my God, you're dating who? You know, then of course, well, it's all right, honey. If he cheated, go back to this man. And that's where that's the problem right there. Because it takes down their confidence. It takes down who they are as a woman, as a person, and they start to devalue themselves and think that they can get nothing better and that they must deal with it. So I really believe it's a maturity thing. So young girls out there, if you're 17 and 18 and you want to ball or, that's for show and that's quick and that's flashy. But you got to think about the repercussions that come with that type of lifestyle.
Right, because what if he decides one day he wants somebody else?
Well, and not
You
even
need
just
your own
that.
skill
Not
set.
even just that, Nakesha. There are a lot of women sitting in prison right now
Mm-hmm.
because of their flashy boyfriend.
And I'm sure you can attest to
There,
that.
there are a lot of women who are dead right now
Mhm.
because of their flashy boyfriend and how they saw only the flash and the lifestyle, and it got them in a situation that they couldn't get out of. There are a lot of women right here today who are out addicted to drugs because they were addicted to the flashy lifestyle. It all becomes an addiction. And when you get so caught up in that trap, it's so hard to get out. So although that may be your vision for today, my thing is think long and hard, because what comes quick, it's not always worth having.
Thank you for listening for this edition of SIS. Please join us for the second half of the conversation, Helping Girls Live Their Dreams, December 24th at 7 p.m. here only on WRCJ 90.9. Up next, Momentum, our Mel Mentor show, right here on 90.9 WRCJ.